4 days after the All-Star break, it's back to the business at hand as we have only 9 races to go until the NASCAR playoffs. Welcome to MDK Race Day as we get you set and ready for the 18th race of the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series season, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500, live from the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Cross, and today I'm going to get you set and ready for another episode here on MDK Race Day. Now, as I said, this will be the first time NASCAR will be back on the racetrack in a points-paying event since last weekend at Kentucky. And obviously, we all know what happened there. Cole Custer, NASCAR rookie, took home his very first victory in the Cup Series and became the 9th different driver to be locked into the NASCAR playoffs. So here's a look at the grid with 9 races to go in the regular season. Right now, Harvick, he has a top spot with Denny Hamlin in second place. Teammates Brad Keselowski and Joe Logano with 14 playoff points apiece. Chase Elliott in the 5th spot, 10 playoff points ahead of his best friend Ryan Blaney, who's in the 6th spot with 6 playoff points. Mark Truex Jr. in 7th, Alex Bowman in 8th. And then you see the newly added Cole Custer with 5 playoff points from his win at Kentucky, 9th on the grid. Eric Almirola, the highest driver without a victory, in the 10th spot, 160 points above. And then 11th and 12th, the Busch brothers of Kurt and Kyle respectively, 104 points for Kurt and 89 for Kyle. Matt DiBenedetto in the 13th spot, 68 points above the cut line. And then 14th and 15th place, Clint Boyer and William Byron, both drivers with 2 playoff points apiece, 47 points above for Clint with 30 points above for Byron. William Byron's teammate Jimmy Johnson holds the final spot, 24 points ahead of Austin Dillon in the 3 car, and right behind him is his teammate Tyler Reddick, the rookie, 41 points behind. Eric Jones in the 19th spot, 20 car, 42 points behind, and rounding up the top 20 is Bubba Wallace, who is 84 points below the cut line. Now let's look at the starting lineup for the 2020 O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. Once again on the front row, Eric Almirola and Ryan Blaney. They take up row number 1. Row 2 has the Busch brothers, Kurt Busch on the inside and brother Kyle on the outside. Nice momentum for Kyle Busch as he won the Truck Series race last night. However, he was disqualified from his victory in the Xfinity Series as a result of his car failing post-race inspection. Row 3 has a couple of Mustangs, Kevin Harvick on the inside and Brad Keselowski on the outside. Row 4 has Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott. Row 5 has Joe Logano and Mark Truex Jr., who rounds out the top 10. Row 6 has Matt DiBenedetto and Alex Bowman in the 88 car. Row 7 has Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the inside and Bubba Wallace repping a new sponsor for this weekend at Texas with Cash App. Row 8 has teammates Ryan Newman and Chris Buescher. Row 9 has Clinton Boyer on the inside and William Byron on the outside, with Row 10 having Cole Custer, NASCAR's newest points-paying winner, and Jimmy Johnson on the outside in Row 10. Row 11 has Chevrolet drivers Austin Dillon and Matt Kenseth. Row 12 has Eric Jones in the 20 car and Tyler Reddick in the 8 car. Row 13 has Ryan Preece in the 37 and Quentin Houff in the 00. Row 14 has Garrett Smithley in the 53 car and John Nemechek on the outside. Row 15 has Greg Gaulding and Ty Dillon. Row 16 has J.G. Yaley and Brendan Poole. Row 17 has Christopher Bell and Michael McDowell. Row 18 has Joey Gase and Corey LaJoie. And then the final 2 rows, row 19, row 20, that's taken up by Daniel Suarez, Timmy Hill, BJ McLeod, and Reed Sorensen. So what can we expect from this race at Texas? Well, keep in mind, it's Texas, so it's not gonna be that exciting, to say the least. Now, Texas Motor Speedway is going to be adding the PJ1 compound to, I believe, the middle groove of the racetrack, at least to the outside. And certain drivers have been very vocal on their disliking of the PJ1 compound. This is stemming from last weekend, or I should say Wednesday at Bristol. You had drivers like Denny Hamlin did not really like the PJ1 compound. So yeah, if it's going to be anywhere like what we've seen the past 2 or 3 Texas races under this package, don't expect for a lot of action. Just Texas as a whole, specifically when they repave turns 1 and 2, it has really killed the racing product tremendously. I also have very growing concerns with the fact that Sunday fans are going to be allowed at the racetrack. I think 25,000, if I'm not mistaken. It's not that I don't want fans at the racetrack. I do. I would like fans at the track, but when you look at Texas, they are now with California and Florida as, I think, cases that have risen over 10,000 or 100,000, one of those 2 things. And I just don't like fans in close range. Hopefully, it'll be a lot better. Hopefully, the experience will be a lot better than it was at Bristol, because if you saw Bristol, I mean, it was really bad in terms of there were no one was doing social distancing. Specifically, when Chase Elliott won and was in front of the front stretch, you had people literally standing on top of each other. With no mask, by the way. I think 99% of the people in the stands were not wearing masks, so that was a problem. But hopefully, in terms of a safety aspect, people wear their mask the entire time. Do social distancing and do all that stuff to make sure that they can have a fun but still safe experience. But now on to the drivers. One driver I want to talk about is Kyle Busch. As I said earlier, he won the truck race last night and at first won the Xfinity race until his car failed post-race inspection. That gave the win to Austin Cindric. His team has been in a slump really the entire year. He has not won a race. He has performed pretty bad compared to his Joe Gibbs Racing teammates. I mean, Denny Hamlin and Truex Jr. I feel like have outperformed him. Even, yes, Hamlin is not as consistent, but at least Hamlin's winning races. I think Hamlin's 2 or 3 time winner so far in 2020. Busch, I think the closest he's ever been, I think, was Bristol earlier in the year, and I think the All-Star race on Wednesday. I believe that was really the closest we've ever seen Kyle Busch to winning. And I should also throw in Darlington. I forgot about that. Also, Darlington, Busch looked like he might have had a shot at the win. But other than that, he's just been on a slump. So I'm very curious to see how he will do at Texas. He's had a lot of success at that track, riding momentum, and also a bit of a chip on his shoulder because of that disqualified win in the Xfinity Series. So that might give him even more of a motivation to try and go out there and perform very well. But I don't know, just the Joe Gibbs drivers as a whole haven't been as consistent as the previous years, and that's why I feel like either this year or next year, I don't think you're going to see a Joe Gibbs driver holding the trophy at Phoenix in the end of the year. I just don't see it. The team as a whole just hasn't been as consistent. Truex has been the most consistent so far out of the bunch, and he's not even up front that often in terms of competing and winning races. I mean, when you look at the playoff grid, he's near the bottom, 7th on the grid. Now, the Ford drivers, they're going to be knocking off on all cylinders, I feel like. Eric Almirola, as of late, he's put up some really good runs. Nice top 10 finishes for him and that team. I think they're going to be very strong here today, specifically with Texas being a track where track position is extremely key. With track position very, very key, I feel like Eric Almirola being out in front, I think he's going to perform very well. Very similar to how he did at Kentucky. Now, one thing I hope him and his team did was prepare the car for the long run, for being in traffic. Because one thing we saw at Kentucky, when Eric Almirola was out in front, he was gold. But as soon as he got in the lap traffic, he couldn't do anything. And I feel like him and his team have learned from that, and they're going to set the car up more to prepare with cars around him, so that in case he does get pushed to the back of the pack or to be surrounded with cars, he's able to drive his way out through the pack. Obviously, Kevin Harvick sitting in the 5th spot. He is going to be a driver that you're going to look out for not only this race, but for the rest of the season. The hottest driver in NASCAR right now, not the defending winner, but he won last fall. So, yeah, he is the defending winner then. What am I saying? But yeah, hottest driver in NASCAR right now today. He's going to be a driver to look out for. And I'll finally even throw in drivers like Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott. I think they also have had really good seasons as of late, and I think they're going to perform strong runs. But this is what I do not like about this type of format, is that you really cannot judge who's going to do well and who's not with no practice, no qualifying. It's just get in your car and go. It's really difficult to predict who's gonna do well and who's not. So again, take my expectations with a grain of salt. But overall, expect the Fords to run well. Expect the Toyotas to struggle. And to be more specific, drivers like Jones, Kyle Busch, really only Truex I expect to perform well. And for the Chevy drivers, I'll even throw in Elliott, Bowman, and even Jimmy Johnson, who's starting in the 20th spot. Because if you look back at his 2019 races, Johnson at Texas, he was actually pretty good. If you look in the spring Texas race, he started on pole, led some laps, was in the top 10 for the entire race. And you look at in the fall, he was in contention to win that race, it seemed like, as of late, before he crashed in turn 2. Who knows? Maybe with that riding momentum of him performing well at Texas and Chevrolet as a whole stepping up their program, Jimmy Johnson I see him having a really good run here at Texas here today. And that will bring me down to the drivers that I think are going to surprise, struggle, and succeed. Now, a driver I think is going to surprise a lot of eyeballs is Tyler Reddick, and it should be no surprise that I pick him. He's had a really good rookie year here at RCR. Finished 10th in the I should say in the last mile and a half track back in Kentucky, and then finished 3rd at Miami weeks before that. So he's got a really good record on the mile and a half racetracks. I think the same thing is going to continue on here today at Texas. So I got a driver to surprise. Now, what I mean by that, I say just as a driver that be in the top 5 or so. Now, yes, I realize he's starting 24th, but again, randomly selected, and I'm pretty sure there have been multiple times where Reddick has started near the mid-pack and has worked his way towards the front. So I shouldn't expect something different here for today's race. I mean, if majority of the time he's starting mid-pack and has worked his way towards the front, why can't it happen here today? He's run really good at Texas, I feel like, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, run in the top 5, and hell, maybe I think even score a top 5 finish. Who knows? A driver that I think is going to struggle is the 20 car of Eric Jones. He's currently 19th in the playoff grid, 42 points below the cut line. And look, Eric Jones as a whole, I said this a few weeks ago, that he's just that one driver that felt like never fit the mold of Joe Gibbs. I know Kyle Busch, he's struggling, I get that. But at least Busch has shown flashes of speed. With Jones, I just don't see it. He's only had 4 top 5 finishes this entire season and an average finish of 17.88. Now compare that to his teammates. Mark Truex Jr. has an average finish of 14.35. Denny Hamlin has an average finish of 10.29. Kyle Busch has an average finish of 14.59. Again, Jones is near 18 with an average finish. He's just been off as of late. He hasn't been able to keep up with his Joe Gibbs teammates, I feel like. And I don't know, I just don't see Texas being the type of track where he can turn it around. I would like for it to, because I think, to be honest, Jones is the only Toyota driver I like. I also like Suarez, but he doesn't have a shot. But he's the only driver that I like, so I want him to succeed. But I just don't see Texas being the track where he's going to do it. And I don't even know if he is going to be able to turn around for this season. And finally, the driver I have winning is, of course, Kevin Harvick, the defending winner at the mile and a half racetrack. He is on a hot streak, winning at Pocono just a few weeks ago. I mean, I don't know anyone that can keep up with Harvick at this point. Maybe Denny Hamlin, but I don't know. I don't know who's going to be able to keep up with Harvick and the momentum he's had this season. I mean, and also, I forgot, winning at Indianapolis. I completely forgot about that. You also won the Brickyard 2 weeks ago. So, and nearly had a shot at winning at Kentucky if it wasn't for that whole issue between Blaney and Truex and Custer. He also had a shot at winning last week in Kentucky. I just don't see why he cannot continue the momentum into Texas, and that's why I have Harvick winning this race. But anyway, that's going to conclude this episode of MDK RaceDay. Guys, I know I've changed my channel to MDK Racing to be more motorsports based, and I've still been doing a lot more NASCAR. I've been getting into F1 news. I think 2 videos I talked about with Fernando Alonso moving to Renault, and also discussing the Racing Point and Mercedes and Renault protest issue going on. I really wanted to get into F1 and IndyCar. I'm just trying to find the right time to be able to get everything together and still put out a good video. Like, I don't want it to be all rushed, just to have everything into one. Like, I want to create a system where I can talk about all 3 forms of motorsports and do it in a spaced out time frame, so that it doesn't come out rushed, it doesn't come out unfinished. And I also want to learn more and more about both F1 and IndyCar before I start talking about and giving my opinions about it, because you just look like a dumbass when you talk about things you have no idea what you're talking about. So that's why when I talked about the F1 issue with the protest going on between Renault, Racing Point, and Mercedes, I made sure that I knew everything, I had everything that I needed to talk about, and made sure I was crystal clear to make sure that people that were watching for the first time didn't come off the video thinking, that Jet guy, he has no idea what he's talking about. So later on in the coming weeks, I will try and get more F1 and more IndyCar stuff on this channel, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? Who do you think is going to win this race? Tell me in the comment section down below. Do you think we're going to have a good race or a bad race? Let me hear your guys' thoughts. But until next time, my name is Jet from MDK, and I'll see you guys next time.